All right, just a quick one before we get started. So this podcast, as you know, informational and entertainment purposes only, certainly shouldn't be considered as financial advice. Please speak to a financial advisor or an expert before you make any investment decisions. Any investment decisions that you do make should be based on your own research and your own understanding of the risks involved. Ourselves, or the guests of the podcast, are certainly not financial experts and do not provide any investment advice. So that said, let's get on with the episode. Please give us a like, subscribe, help us grow, help us bring on some bigger and bigger guests. Yeah, let's get to it.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Blockmates podcast. We are here today with Carlos and Trent from Rainmaker, the next big movers in account abstraction wallets. Gentlemen, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Doing great.
Not bad. Yeah. Chilling. Enjoying the last bits of summer here, you know?
Oh, very, very jealous. Like, we're in the UK. We had 3 days. We had 3 days of sun over summer, and yesterday we had our final day of sun. So 4 days throughout the whole season. It's not been great, guys. It's not been great.
I was about to say that sounds pretty good for the UK. It's like a record season of sunlight.
True. Like, you think it was sunny by like me wearing a hat inside, but secretly my hair just looks like I've woken up. So I'm gonna keep it under wraps. Luckily and hopefully, like, most people are listening to this on Spotify, so they can't see all three of our bed heads.
Yeah, that would certainly be it would be problematic if people have to look at me.
No, guys, obviously, like, thanks for joining. Super excited to go into a little bit more depth, obviously, about what you guys have been making, and you know who you generally are. So I'd love to hear first, Carlos. What is your origin story into crypto?
Ooh, yeah. Origin story goes back quite a ways. I think Brent has heard this a couple times, but basically what had happened was when I was in college, or uni, as you guys say, I was studying chemistry for most of my tenure. But towards the end of college, I started taking some computer science classes because it was recommended for, like other majors, right? Just to know how to program. And I kind of got hooked pretty quickly. And so I was switching my major really last minute. What this meant, though, was that I didn't have enough credits to graduate. And so one of my professors, really friendly guy, he's like, hey, you did well in my class. Here's a research opportunity working in our graphics lab, and you can get some more credits. You'll have to stay for some extra time during the summer, but you can graduate on time. And so for me, that's very appealing, right? To not be the only guy sort of left behind. So I did that. And there I met this PhD student who I was working with on writing a paper. But at the same time, I don't know if you guys know this, but Fred, one of the co-founders of Coinbase, actually went to Duke, same school as me. So he would come back and do recruiting. And so he did a recruiting hackathon. And so I started learning about Coinbase and what, that kind of prompted what is Bitcoin. So this guy I was working with and I completely ignored Coinbase, to our perils. We should have joined right there. But we got really into Bitcoin, and we realized, we have tons and tons of hashing power through our graphics lab. Nobody's monitoring our usage of it. So let's just get started and install miners on every single graphics card. So that's what we did for several months, is we just mined Bitcoin on college computers. And, as a college student, where maybe a pizza, like a free pizza, is a good deal for you, if you're getting free money just rolling in, great. I don't pay electricity for this computer lab. So that's kind of my origin story. And then from there, I got to engineering. I started getting really into crypto on my own. So doing arbitrage, doing like automated yield farming, looking into MEV a little bit, and then kind of playing the markets as well. I'm a pretty big trader. So that's what got me started, though.
So you had the potential to be literally a nuclear engineer, but instead you decided to flip like profile pictures and shitcoins for a living. Is that right?
Yeah, and I think I actually made the right choice. Yeah, I'm contributing to society a lot more this way. Yeah. That's true. Like you could have solved the power crisis and like fueling of the global economy, but nah, I'm with you on that. I think you made the right choice. Yeah, that's Brent, a waste
what's
of
your
time.
Origin story?
My origin story is perhaps a little bit more boring. I'm not like stealing hash power from campuses or anything like that. I kind of went the academic route where my whole career, and I'm a little bit older than Carlos. We won't go into details here, but my whole career has been just like, a Web 2.0 developer doing a bunch of like boring projects, big tech companies and all that stuff. And I stumbled across the Bitcoin white paper like really early on, like way earlier than I like to admit, for never having taken like proper action on, buying the coin or mining the coin myself. I dabbled around with mining, what was it, Dogecoin, like early on, just because I was like, hey, what is mining? This is cool. But like, I have no idea where those coins are anymore, or if they're worth anything, whatever, that's long gone. So I think the fascination actually kind of continued through some of the gaming aspect of it. So like tinkering around with like literally crypto kitties, because it was just like a weird concept. And then Axie Infinity was my first idea to like totally get rich quick. And this was like right around the time they came crashing down as well. So that was like get poor quick scheme for me. And lastly, I don't know, a couple of the NFT projects. Like I played with Wolfgame a bit and had a lot of fun with that, made a little bit of money there. I was always in the Web 2.0 side of things, but eventually I was like, look, this is actually interesting enough. I would like to learn this world a little bit better. Can I leverage my Web 2.0 skills in order to break into the crypto Web 3 era? And a friend of mine actually was already working kind of, moonlighting as a contractor at Hashflow, which is now top 10 DEX. And they were really in need of additional developers there. So I joined on kind of as a contractor and very quickly left my full-time job and started working with them. And I was basically, contributing a pretty good percentage of their actual code base. And I really helped propel them in the first year through about $10 billion worth of trade value, which going from a job of like trying to make, at the time I was working at Pinterest before that, like trying to get people to like pin more things all the way to $10 billion worth of trade volume in a year is actually like, that's a hell of a drug. Like that was exciting. And I guess shortly thereafter, I was introduced to Carlos, and that was also a pretty interesting prospect. So the rest is history there.
Wow. Okay. Next story then. How did you two meet?
I'll just say before we jump into that, if there's one thing that Brent and I both love, it's watching numbers go up and to the right. Like that's kind of what I've based my whole career on. And when you're talking like, hey, you could have been like an energy engineer or something, but like, how would I watch numbers go up and to the right that way? Like,
yeah, it's just a lot more fun when they're your numbers and you're not like watching someone else's numbers go up and to the right.
Yeah. Oh man, how did we meet? What's the origin story for this, Brent?
So just say Pinterest. Carlos, you were obviously having like a great picture board. Brent obviously found it. You pinned a picture. It was like, hey.
It's like, hey, you like Dogecoin too. Like I noticed you pinned this Dogecoin, and it's just like they have a matching service actually on Pinterest.
Totally.
Little did you know for co-founders. No, I mean like, so Brent and I don't even know when we first like interacted, to be honest. But we are in this Slack group together. So shout out to them. And it's basically like, how would you describe it nicely? Like investment Slack group.
Yeah, it's not even like crypto specific, but it seems like a bunch of like-minded people who all like crypto. So call it for what it is, like an alpha trading group or something like that. But just a bunch of nerds, like me and Carlos together.
And a lot of degens too, like, like, hey, listen, like how do we get like 1,000x leverage on this position? I want to speculate, so it's a lot of that. That's also how I lost probably like, I won't specify the number, but a very large amount of money in crypto is following advice from that alpha group. So thanks, guys. I guess it's just like, so when I was working on the company, like very early on, kind of still in the idea stage, I thought, hey, listen, like this is a pretty hard product to build. It's very cutting edge tech. Like the stuff was like account abstraction wasn't even released at that point. Like think about this, like it's not that long ago. It's probably like, I don't know, 6 to 8 months ago, wasn't even released. And I was like, hey, listen, like I need somebody else who's, really knows a ton about crypto. So I was asking around, I was like, hey, like, is there a way I can, find some engineers to hire to work with me? I had a little bit of funding at the time. Talked to Brent. And after about like 20 to 30 minutes, it was just like, hey, like, what if we just work together? And I guess the
conversation, the thing that Carlos came to me with is like, how can I hire other people? And after about a half hour, I was like, I think you want to hire me. I think I'm the people.
Yeah.
And yeah.
That was like very serendipitous. I really liked that.
Then what made you join then, Brent? Like, what was Carlos's sales pitch?
I mean, so it was a bunch of different factors, and like some of which weren't even necessarily related to the company, and we don't have to get too deep into it. But it was just like the time for me to like, start another venture on my own. Like Hashflow is good, but I was working for someone else, and I like the idea of having the autonomy, like chasing that product market fit, like being in the trenches. Carlos definitely seemed like a sharp guy, both through like our interactions before, but also the way that he described the product and the vision going forward. And I'm sure we'll go into that a bunch more in a minute. But also just like, I don't know, there were a couple lines in his pitch that just like really stood out to me. And like without introducing like Rainmaker properly, it might not make that much sense. But like one of the things that I just always loved was it's so much of crypto over these last few years has been like really targeted at degens. It's like building these tools for these like early people to jump in, or these like really committed people, some of whom are maybe crazy is a generous term, even like just willing to throw their life savings at these things because they see it, or they think they see it, or whatever. Yeah. Hello.
That's us.
And that is in some respects us, but like I still think that the world can benefit from crypto. I think that there is like, our thesis is never that we want to like take our part of the crypto pie. We want to grow the pie. We want to like get more people into crypto, and we want to actually build the abstractions necessary to bring on that next cohort of people. I want my mom to not be intimidated by investing in crypto, and like that's a lofty goal, right? And so the way that Carlos described Rainmaker is that like our target audience doesn't necessarily have to be the degens. He described this new person. This person is the degen's friend. It's the person who comes to you and is like, Carlos, tried to sign up for MetaMask. It asked me what a seed phrase is. It's telling me to write my password, which is 24 words, on a piece of paper and then place that in a safety deposit box. Like, what the hell is this? And by the way, I need to get ETH in my wallet. I need to like, this is all intimidating. How do I buy crypto and how do I get rich? And like the answer to that person shouldn't be, 10 hours of YouTube research and, a ton of back and forth conversation, and just like it's too much for most people. And if the answer is just like go install Rainmaker, it does all of these things for you. It's familiar, and that you sign up with an email and password, and you can nerd out on it. You can buy, you can have exposure to altcoins. You can leverage long. You can do whatever you need to inside the app if you really want to. But there's also the easy mode, which is just like sign up for the app, onboard in the app, onboard your fiat inside the app, and then just invest in like some stables or something like that. Like that is the ultimate degen's friend solution. And so when Carlos like coined that phrase, I was like, that's it. That's what I want to be part of. That's like, we can grow that business. So that was pretty exciting for me. And it was actually kind of funny because like, again, Carlos was like looking to hire some engineer. And after a half hour, I was like, I'm that engineer. And then like a couple weeks later, I quit my job. And a couple weeks later, we agreed like, hey, I'm the co-founder. Let's go.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. Like it moved super quickly. And like, that's kind of how things have to be like in this industry. And also at this stage of the company, it's just like, you need people who are just like, hey, like, F it. Like I'm willing to just send it right in and just go hard. So I think that was pretty awesome. What's funny too, Brent, is like,
so
you're describing
have you guys met in real life then?
Yeah, we've met. We went to San Francisco together because we did Y Combinator. And so like, neither of us were actually there the entire time, but we definitely coordinated some overlap so that we could like meet and hang out. And I think we're trying to make it more like of a regular thing. So
it still was a couple months in before we actually met in person though.
It was like the first time was weird. I remember Brent was a lot taller than like I thought, because I only see like whatever, like your head here, and I was like, oh damn. So it was kind of funny.
Damn. Okay. Then Carlos, where did the idea for Rainmaker come, and like what is Rainmaker?
Yeah, I think that's a good segue, honestly, because what Brent was saying when he was saying it, I was like, man, Rainmaker really is like the product that I wish I had when I was getting into crypto and into DeFi specifically. And it's the product that I want now, which is part of why I continue to build it, right? Like, selfishly, it's kind of awesome to be able to build a product that you use on a very regular basis, right? So I guess I'll start with that. The question of what is Rainmaker? Damn, that's kind of a big question. I should have been better prepared for this. Basically, like what we're trying to do with Rainmaker is create like a mobile operating system for DeFi. And this mobile operating system should also be so easy that anyone can interact with it, even if you're not crypto native. So the idea is that, hey, like I understand, I don't have to understand how to use all the like technical tooling in crypto. Like I shouldn't need to go to Etherscan, or I shouldn't need to know like what a nonce is, or how to sign a transaction with MetaMask, or what a seed phrase is. But I still have a thesis that like I think ETH is going to the moon. I want to get leverage on it, or I want to park my stables in this bridge liquidity pool because I believe in whatever Synapse, and I want to get kind of rewards for providing that bridge liquidity. So it's like I have understanding of the investments that I'm trying to make and my investment thesis, right? Which is what investing is about, right? It's about choosing a direction and maybe a basket of assets that are going in whatever direction, and finding the best risk-adjusted return for whatever you're trying to do. It's not about fiddling with tooling and stringing together 50 different protocols to actually execute on that investment thesis. So without getting like too descriptive of exactly what Rainmaker is, like obviously it's a mobile app, and we actually have a web app as well that leverages account abstraction. But without getting like too nitty gritty on that, you should be able to invest in DeFi exactly as you want and execute on your trading thesis without having to worry about your security or gas or like fiddling with transactions. Like it should just work and allow you to do what you want to do.
Yeah, in that sense, a lot of what Rainmaker is actually about what it isn't. We saw a lot of the industry trends where it's like, some of these EOA wallets still exposing all the complexity. We can't stop there. We have to do better than that. That's like a building block, and we can build upon that. And the advent of things like account abstraction and smart contract wallets have been very instrumental for going a step further. So, like, while our thesis is that we can build this like DeFi platform, really the way that we see like the actual goal for a user is you should be able to, in 5 minutes, sign up for Rainmaker using your email and password, which is already familiar to you, and yet it is still self-custodied, still decentralized, and we can get into some of those details a little bit later, but it's still familiar, like Web 2.0 stuff to sign up. Then fiat on-ramps are already built into the app if you want to use them, or you can just, you get a wallet as well, so you can have, if you have tokens somewhere else, you can send them on in. And then investment is literally one tap. And that includes things like swapping the tokens to whatever you would actually like to deposit. And then it deposits, and then it automatically takes whatever your receipt tokens are, and it sticks them in a farm. And then it automatically starts collecting rewards on whatever that farm is. And it automatically converts those back to whatever the token is that you deposited, redeposits those, and compounds for you. So really, at the end of the day, you're getting conceivably better yields because it's auto compounding. And literally all you ever had to do was sign up with an email password, pop in a credit card or send tokens, and then press a button to deposit. So 5 minutes, start to finish, feels like, we hope that it feels good to be true. And in fact, like someone actually did come into our Discord at one point, and he's like,
remember that.
Guys, this can't be real. It's too easy. Does this smell fishy to you? And I was like, we've done it. We made it so easy that this guy thinks it's fake.
Yeah, it's so funny because like I definitely, especially earlier on, like less so now that more people know what account abstraction is, a lot of folks thought we were like a CeFi service, right? Because I think like, not to brag, but obviously I'm going to brag right now. I think like a lot of kind of what we've done here is taken some of the best elements of, like Celsius, obviously complete disaster, but really easy to use, right? Like, so we've taken some of the best elements of that, where it's like really easy to sign up, really easy to like kind of get your yield, but we've kept it, actually like fully decentralized, right? So there's no like CeFi entity in between. We've combined that with like, I don't know if you guys remember what Zapper used to do, but Zapper used to basically allow you to like one tap entry sort of into like all these different liquidity pools. And then we've like kind of baked in all of this other stuff that is very disparate, like bridging and like farms and different like LPing opportunities. And we've kind of rolled it into what we think is the proper investment experience. So it's really exciting for us.
That is such a good way to describe it. You're creating like a proper investing experience. And when I've like looked at the app in more detail, and like from what you guys are saying, you've essentially taken like a very normal real life app, applied it to crypto, so then it kind of just works. It's like I use interactive brokers, right, for my stock portfolio, right? Very simple, log it on, you can do everything. In crypto, there's so little that you can actually do on your mobile. And me and the lads were talking about it today. Like literally all you can really do is you can do like Telegram bot trading. That's the big narrative, right? Because the sex experience on the phone, like there's no liquidity on Sexy, so I don't really want to be trading on my phone, like on like Bybit or Binance or whatever. The Telegram degen scene is going well, but no, what's always blown my mind in crypto is a lot of people have made things too complicated too quickly because they're devs, and devs like to do what devs do, and that's develop really cool technical things to show off to devs. Go do that at hackathon, dude. That's what hackathons are there for. Show off your talents, become a white hacker. What I really like about what you guys are doing is you're making something, and you are making something for the degenerate's friend or the degenerate's mum, because my mum's very like technologically illiterate. She can play Candy Crush. That's it. Send like a couple of WhatsApp and use Facebook. That's it. So it's something that you've created where you're taking almost all of the technical crypto jargon and just making it simple. Because when I tell my mum about, I'm doing some farming or whatever, it's like, you're farming? What's that? It's like, just click those, mum. Mum, give me your phone, give me your Rainmaker, boom, boom, boom. It's fine, it's done. So yeah, really, really like that you're taking like a very like normie friendly approach, but something that us three degenerate idiots could also do.
Yeah, and it's like, I actually think that's like one of the hard things about building a product like this is you have to strike like a nice balance of building for the people who are here now, today, and like building value for them, but then also building for the people that they are going to bring into the space and like help us all grow the space. And so you kind of have to balance the two. And I'd like to think we do a good job, but we can always improve on that. I think another thing that is really exciting to me about Rainmaker is in DeFi in general, there's this promise of composability, right? Like that's one of the things that makes DeFi amazing. It's basically an open API for a financial system, right? And so with an open API, you can combine a lot of these different protocols, these different like financial instruments together, and you can create like the exact risk return package that you want on a given asset, right? And so like with Rainmaker, we're obviously able to like bundle up lots of transactions. And what we do with that today is we actually do compose many of these kind of services into like one bundle of transactions, which effectively becomes one transaction. And so like we're really excited to kind of continue to push on the composability of DeFi and actually compose things into effectively products for people to like financial products for people to consume. So that's another thing that I think is really exciting, that folks won't have to put that stuff together themselves, and they can kind of like just sift through like these pre-packaged things.
And just to give a really quick example of that, something that we saw a lot of success over the last month or so was like, imagine you want to get into position on Eigenlayer, exciting protocol, lots of promise. Getting into it means that, okay, I have my ETH. Now what do I do with that? Oh, I need to get my ETH into Steth or Rocket ETH or, any of this stuff. Okay, so got to go to that protocol. Got to make sure I have my ETH ready. I got to convert it, but I can't convert it all because I need a little bit left for gas fees. So, okay, I've done that.
And don't forget this. You need to go compare quotes across DEX aggregators or DEX, depending on what you're doing, right?
So lots of different challenges there. Now I need to get that stETH into EigenLayer. Oh, I have to do a token approval? What is that? Okay, that's a transaction that I had to do that's not the actual transaction. Oh, crap, I ran out of gas now. How do I, now I need to do more of that? And so on Rainmaker, you can literally just show up with staples. You can show up with whatever you want, and you can say, I want EigenLayer. Give me one of those. And you're in. That's the end of it. So that's a big part of what Carlos is talking about with the bundles. Yeah. In addition to be able to, again, farm some of these strategies or move through multiple protocols at the same time. Lots of different both opportunities already built and opportunities in the future as well.
Yeah. Pretty awesome. Yeah, EigenLayer was a really popular one for us.
So go on.
No, I said EigenLayer was a really popular one because effectively, yeah, you can take any token and you can enter EigenLayer, whichever one you want, like the RETH, stETH, CBETH, with one tap. And that was incredibly popular financial product, right?
So one thing I'd like to know is how does the bundling actually work? Because I know from when we've spoken in the past, some of the stuff you see on your Twitter, it's gas free. How is it gas free? Where does that come into it?
So I guess the simplest answer is someone's paying the gas bill right now. That is us. We're still early in the game. In some ways, we're willing to pay gas in order to get some eyeballs into the protocol. But there's also long-term strategy that should pay off for us. One of them is, we do make money in the spread, or we hope to make money more in the future. There's different partnerships that we can make with different protocols and stuff. And so there are actually opportunities for us to make money that doesn't come out of the user's pocket as well. So that's one way that we can actually make money in that case. We are looking at, pushing deeper into L2s where the gas fee just isn't that high. And another thing is, turns out when you're actually bundling a lot of these transactions together, the gas actually isn't quite as expensive as if you're issuing them individual transactions. Each one of them is its own transaction as well. So there are some economies of scale here as well. So at the end of the day, yes, we are paying some amount of money for an inaugural product to try to get in the hands of customers. But we think we can find a sustainable model there as well. And then, yeah, the way that the bundles actually work is this is just all through the power of account abstraction. This is something that didn't exist prior to, the official launch was February. We had a beta version of Rainmaker working on the initial bits in January already. So, it's still pretty new stuff in the world, and we're going to continue to leverage what we can in order to create a better and ultimately cheaper experience for users as well.
Yeah, and if we're talking about kind of the moving parts here, just so folks who are not as familiar with account abstraction can maybe visualize this a little bit. The way that this works is the only reason that this is possible is that Rainmaker is actually a smart contract wallet under the hood, right? So basically, there's this smart contract which has you can think of it as a connection to these other contracts. One is this thing; it's called the paymaster, and then one is called this thing called the bundler. And so the bundler basically is what will actually take all the transactions that we send in these groups and it will smush them together. And the paymaster literally has a bunch of ETH in it, right? If you're on mainnet, the paymaster contract gets funded. So we just send ETH into that contract. And when the bundles have to go through and be committed on chain, the money or the gas for that comes out of the paymaster. And the paymaster is responsible for saying hey, this is an approved, this is an approved amount of spend, or this wallet is okay to use this gas on this transaction. So there's configuration in there. And as Brent said, I think one of the big things that we are banking on, I think, is critical for crypto to actually survive. So I'm totally fine banking on it, because if this doesn't happen, crypto, I don't think will happen either. Gas prices need to be solved, right? You can't have people interacting with a financial system where every transaction is $10 a pop, right? And good news is, it's one of these like market efficiency things, right? Where the more obvious the like financial problem, the more people are working on solving it. So you see, that's why you see zillions of L2s, right? Where like transaction cost is much, much cheaper. People are working on things like optimistic rollups. And so I personally am very confident that the pricing for the gas will be solved, and we can get a jump on that by fixing the UX ahead of the pricing solve. And, you know, the money will come out of our pockets for a while. That's okay. Like, we're willing to pay that price to be a first mover.
And how do you think Ethereum is actually going to solve the issue and the problem of gas? Because you said like there's paying like $10 per transaction, mate. If it's $10 per transaction, I'm really, really, really happy to pay $10 per transaction.
Fair.
But obviously in the real world, like that's ludicrous. And like, you know, when gas obviously spikes, when we had a couple of big NFT mints, there was gas of like what 3-4K, right? How would you personally see Ethereum bringing that down to the levels of like Arbitrum, of Base, of Optimism, where it's pennies?
Well, Brent knows my position on this, which is I think that L2s are the future. So, like, you know, maybe there are maybe some ways that Ethereum will get significantly better, but I don't even like to focus there, right? Like, I kind of like to focus on L2s because for normal transactions, or for like, I don't know, high volumes of transactions, they just make a lot more sense. So it's partially getting folks comfortable with using L2s. And part of that is a UX problem, right? Because the bridging experience today is horrendous. It's like, hey, I'm going to send some money into the ether. I'm going to pray that it makes it to the other side. And, you know, I'm going to like pay a huge fee to bridge over there. And then, you know, they're like, like this is kind of sketchy. And then, so it's a vicious cycle, right? So it's like, if I am sketched out as the user, well, developers who are building protocols and financial products for end users, they're going to say like, hey, like users aren't comfortable going over to Arbitrum or Base, or like this bad example. I think people have been very receptive of Base. And so that makes me really happy. But developers say like, hey, like people aren't really going over here, so I'm going to build on mainnet where it's like real. And so that's not great. But good news is, I think these L2s are doing a great job with marketing to get people trying L2s. Two, like they're also doing a great job with biz dev to actually get developers to build on the L2s. And then three, it's you know, again, like not to brag, but I think folks like us are trying really hard to improve things like the bridging experience. And we can improve the UX a lot. The bridges themselves can start improving like the actual transaction times. I know like at this point, so back in the day, oh God, I'm gonna go on a tangent. Back in the day, when I would do a bridge, it would take over an hour actually. Like I remember I was bridging a lot, like was it 2022, 2021? It would take over an hour. And nowadays, like when I bridge on Rainmaker, because I bridge all the time, I think it frequently takes like 2 or 3 minutes, and still like not perfect. It's not 10 seconds, but that's a drastic improvement, right? And I think it will only get better from there. So anyways, long story short, I'm all in on L2s.
Yeah, and just to I guess I think Carlos hit the nail on the head, but to summarize, like I also preach to the gospel of Vitalik. Like Ethereum mainnet is for bots and whales, and like they have a lot of good stuff coming in the pipeline. Even a couple orders of magnitude improvement still doesn't get you sub-second, sub-cent transactions. And so the world has to move on and has to go to these L2s. And, you know, Carlos and I can build an L2. Carlos and I can build a bridging strategy. Like those things are needed in the industry, but like that's not our strong suit. Our strong suit is building a really good user experience for consumer products. And so that's what we decided to build, is like the UX over the top of the actual, like, you know, DeFi services. So when the rest of the industry catches up, like we're going to be here for our customers.
And to that effect, like we've designed very explicitly around that too. Like we are very explicitly like omni-chain. We've been kind of adding networks like crazy. And because we don't necessarily know who the winner of these L2 wars is going to be, or if there's even going to be a winner. And so we're basically just ready to like plug in new things as they come. Like you can check our Discord. Like I think we move really fast. Like we plugged in Eigenlayer in like a day or two. So like, and we plugged in Base in like a day or two. So as things come and as we see like good work, we just plug it into Rainmaker and it just works. And that's kind of how it should be, right?
Yeah, and with everybody that's like behind Base, I'm quite, but I haven't like full transparency. I haven't got any like positions open on Base at the moment, but I'm very bullish just on Base in general because of the fact that Coinbase is behind it. You've got all of the other whales that are working to obviously like keep it together. To what extent do you think Base is going to be like the big winning L2 that has more of a future than a lot of the other L2s that we've seen? Arbitrum, probably a great example. Arbitrum did fantastic when they were, teasing us with the when airdrop for like 2 years, but then it's obviously like come downhill quite quick. Like, where do you see the layer 2 space going?
So, first of all, you should check out Base if you haven't. For no reason other than the incentive programs right now are ripping. Like, Coinbase is definitely giving out grants. As far as I can tell, I don't have any information. As far as I can tell, they're definitely giving out grants because I was earning like 25% on my USDC via Hop. So that's hard to beat, man. Like that's really hard to beat. So you should definitely check it out. If nothing else than just yield farming. Here's kind of what I think is like, I'm still not sure if I'm just being honest. Like I think I'm too like just not sure to give you an answer. But I will say that Coinbase's BD team is another level. Like Coinbase, I actually think in Polygon as well. Polygon has an amazing BD team. And when the BD teams focus on partnerships, both like, I would say like corporate partnerships that can bring a lot of money onto the network from elsewhere, or like developer protocol partnerships, that is going to be like the confluence of those two things is going to be how an L2 really, really wins. It doesn't win when people are just hoping for an airdrop. So I think that's like probably one of the problems, unfortunately, with like maybe Arbitrum, maybe ZK Sync is, love those networks. They work great. But I think a lot of the energy maybe was focused on like hyping an airdrop. And so a lot of people came for the airdrop, but the products on the network weren't in a good enough spot to kind of like capture that value and inflow fully, right? And that's ultimately what retains people. So like, I've worked on consumer products for a while, and the biggest thing that you can do to like improve the revenue of a product is just improve retention, like 1%. Like 1% improvement of retention is way more valuable than acquiring like a huge bucket of new users, right? Because not only do the users that you have stay at a much higher rate, but every new user that you acquire is worth a lot more because they're like actually using your product. So I don't know. It's all about products on the network is kind of my thesis. So whoever can capture that wins.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think that at the end of the day, like the actual chains themselves, they do differ in certain characteristics. Those characteristics do matter. Like, what is the economic model? Like, are they inflationary on whatever their token is, or are they, what is their security model? Those sorts of things like matter, but they don't matter to most people. They matter to, the nerds and the people who are building one layer above them. At the end of the day, I just want that to be a utility. And it's kind of like arguing over like, what is the best mobile carrier? Like maybe you have an opinion, but really you just want your phone call to go through or whatever. Like hopefully it just gets, I don't want to say commoditized, but like at the end of the day, the thing that users actually care about is the apps on top of them. And when I say apps, like blockchain apps can be like actual things that you do, or it can be the financial incentives on top of them as well. And again, like that's where we are. We're building the DeFi aggregator, or whatever that allows our users to actually make money over the top of it. And we don't have a horse in any of these races. Like, we're just building on all of the chains that we think that our users want, and we're going to continue to expand that until we've gotten, like, you know, every last user satisfied. And to that end, I think the one other characteristic that matters, and this circles all the way back to your question about Base specifically, is like one of the major, like, incredibly fundamental characteristics of any particular chain is how do you fund it. And that's one of the reasons why I love Base, because they are rooted in a centralized service that is built to onboard money. And so they just make that onboarding flow so easy. To that end, we think that it's actually going to be a really good catalyst to bring people not only into decentralized stuff, but then into Rainmaker, because they can so easily just scratch that curiosity by going a little bit further. They start with Coinbase, they onboard money from their bank account, they get it into Base, and then from Base, they can just take it directly to Rainmaker and start exposing themselves to alternative coins, alternative strategies that they otherwise couldn't on Coinbase itself. So I think it's a fantastic thing for crypto, but especially for us and our users as well.
I think if the Coinbase business development team is out there listening, get in touch with these guys right here, right now.
Appreciate that, Dan. Yeah, I think like basically to that effect too. I think a lot of apps that are similar to Rainmaker, where it's basically Rainmaker is basically chain agnostic to the user's perspective. Like, there is still a bridging step, just like that's a technical thing that exists. But I would say, like, Brent and I are like getting to the point where we're very close to exploring, like, how can we like get rid of bridging from the user perspective, right? Like, we're almost there technically. And once that's gone, I mean, like, then the developer doesn't necessarily, and people adopt technologies like Rainmaker to actually use crypto, developers no longer actually are incentivized to deploy on Ethereum. It's actually, there's maybe a perverse incentive at that point because it's so expensive. And so then whichever L2s are going to win, like, those start taking off at that point, right? So we're like very, very close, I think, to like ditching Ethereum is the wrong word, to not using Ethereum as our primary interaction layer. And like the tech for like bridging specifically just needs to get a tiny bit better. So we're close.
Okay. Wow. Okay. That's big and gigabrain. So going back more into like the actual application, and then, we briefly touched on this before we went live. What's making it sexy? Like, what are like, you're obviously making like a really cool, awesome product, and it works really well. But what are like the special little, like, oh, that's pretty cool parts of it?
I don't know if you have an answer for this. I have a couple of answers, Brent, but I don't know where you want to start. Yeah.
Why don't I'll take a crack at one of them. One of the things that I'm particularly proud of, and like, it's kind of hard for me in great faith to say that this is sexy, because like the answer is our authentication. And to some people, it's just like, that's going to put them right to sleep. But to at least crypto native people, like, this is a big deal, right? It's like, how do I know that I own my money and Rainmaker doesn't own my money, or that anyone can rug me, or that I can get scammed out of this stuff? Especially when, like I said earlier, a user comes to our app and they sign up with an email and password. That's not a private key. That's not like the keys to a wallet or something like that. So how are we doing that? We're particularly proud of this. We're using some new stuff in the industry, and we're actually we have some plans coming up pretty soon here to make this like what I would legitimately call the best in industry solution for this so far. And that's like a lofty statement, so let me unpack it just a little bit. First of all, the way that the authentication works is using something called MPC. That's multi-party computation. And that is a technology where you can take a bunch of like existing authentication mechanisms, whether it's like just a PIN number on your phone, or an email and password through some other like centralized service, whether it's Google or Facebook, OAuth, those sorts of things. And you can take you can take some sort of secret, like your private key, and you can break it up into pieces. It's almost like Harry Potter Horcruxes or something like that. And you can stash those pieces in those different services. And what's interesting is those services might even be centralized, But with only one of the pieces, they can't actually reconstruct the private key by themselves. It takes enough pieces. It takes all of the pieces in some cases in order to actually reconstruct that password. And so no one entity actually has control over your wallet. And you, the end user, are the only person who knows how to, like, you know your PIN number, you know your email and password, and you can demonstrate that you have control over your email inbox. And only when you, the one single person, can reconstruct all of those pieces, can you actually then get your private key back and control your wallet. And so we at Rainmaker can continue to offer these services that feel like Web 2.0 things that are really familiar to, again, the DGen's friend, the DGen's mom, whatever. Like they know how to sign up using an email and password today. So they can actually custody a private key without having to go through all of this complexity of seed phrases or, any of the things that are going to get them scammed. And the part that I'm calling kind of best in industry, and the part that's coming up here soon, is we're actually going to expand this concept of being able to break your password into different pieces. And we're going to allow you to decide how secure you want to be. We're actually going to let you add more and more layers of security as you choose. One of those layers could be an authenticator. Like a lot of people are familiar with, the 6-digit code authenticator stuff. One of them can be using like iCloud or Google Drive as your backend. So you can basically stash your password in there, and then it'll automatically roam to all of your other devices. So it's really easy to sign in any other device, but it's still something that's specific to you. We have a bunch of ideas on how we can add recovery modes too. So if you so choose, you can ask Rainmaker to be the custody, or to be in custody of one of those pieces. So if you screw up and you lose everything else, you can ask Rainmaker to kind of be your backup. We've seen Ledger roll this out fairly recently. I think they might not have done it as tastefully because they didn't actually tell their customers that they were going to be doing this before they took the steps to do it. But we're going to basically allow you to choose, would you like us to be one of these things? And for the whales who really have security down, they can just say, screw that. I don't want Rainmaker to touch any of this authentication stuff. But for the people who want a little bit more of like a consumer experience where, like, if they forget their password, they can always just contact their bank and be like, hey, I am who I am. Can you let me back in? Like, we can offer that security model to our users as well. And all at the end of the day, it is still self-custodied. Rainmaker still has no access to your funds, to your private key, nothing like that. And so we think it's super powerful. We think it's the future, but we haven't seen it demonstrated yet. And so we're already on our way. Our users are already using this, but we're actually going to add more and more options over time. And it's going to be, I'm very excited about it.
Is there a way that you can actually demonstrate that? Let's say, it's probably going a little bit off tangent, but like if we were to do like a screen share or a kind of like how-to guide, is there a way to like visually showcase those different levels of like security that you can opt in and out for? Has that not been integrated yet?
The way to demonstrate it is not integrated yet. Like I can like literally show you my code. I can open source that. That's not what you're looking for. That's not what your listeners are looking for either. We have yet to write the full white paper because we're not completed with the full thing. And then I would also say that like the onus is really on us, the app developers, to try to describe to the user what's going on. Because it is like when you have a billion options to throw at the user, like we are the ones as the application developer who have to create a good user experience through all of it too. And hopefully at the end of the day, the user will understand, do I want like the easy button that gives me more convenience? Or do I want the like, mega lockdown option that like takes me off grid and makes it so that no one could ever, even poke and prod at the security model. And like, we want to make it clear to the user what options they have and what they're getting in all of that. And so that's perhaps something that we can demonstrate later on. It's not quite ready yet, unfortunately.
Okay.
I think that's also, for me, like I do have some other things that I can talk about, but that's the feature I'm most excited about because I do, in full transparency, have dozens of wallets, and some of the seed phrases are on like pieces of paper. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, it sounds like I'm just saying that because it's a good soundbite, but it's like, it's true. It's just convenient, like, or like I have like some screenshots, right? It's like, yeah, they're my low security wallets is the way that I think about those. And I'm like, yeah, I only keep like a couple thousand in those. low security, like maybe airdrop farming wallets, but they like, I'd much rather just have another Rainmaker wallet, you know, that has like a partial custody option set up. So I'm super stoked on that.
Okay, I'm just gonna fish for this one because I was hoping you'd say it, but word on the street there might be something to do with airdrop scoring coming to a Rainmaker app near you.
Yeah, definitely. Like this is something we've already seen, like some layer of this with Eigenlayer. Again, like I don't know if they're going to do an airdrop or not, but basically when they came out, we did a one-tap integration with Eigenlayer so that people could really easily interact with that protocol, right? Without having to worry about gas, without having to worry about, apparently the Eigenlayer site was actually broken because there was too much traffic. And so a lot of folks were coming over from the Discord, which is cool, to Rainmaker to be like, hey, like I do want to try to like auto farm Eigenlayer if they have an airdrop. And so we're kind of looking at accumulation of a couple things. Like one is, you know, we have a really good idea of a lot of the protocols that are trying to incentivize user behavior with an airdrop. So these protocols like want people to interact. Two, we have like a rough idea also of like some of the typical steps that are taken to interact with the protocol and the way that they want. And three, it's like, you know, given those steps, like they're also going to be thinking about what is a high quality user, high quality wallet, because they deserve the airdrop, right? Not some, you know, bot that's like attacking me with like 1,000 auto created wallets made in code, right? And so we're thinking about these three things and saying like, hey, like, can we create basically like, I don't know how to think about it, maybe like quests that say like, hey, we have fairly high confidence that this protocol is having an airdrop. Here are the steps that you need to take. And we can actually bundle those up with account abstraction to make it one step for you. And, you know, there might be some external criteria, like maybe you have to hold your funds in there for X number of days or whatever. And we can also output like a score of your wallet based on your public transaction history and tell you like, you know, we think you're in the top 10% of people who have interacted with this protocol. And if you're not, what do you have to do to get there, right? Like maybe you just have to onboard more funds, or maybe you need to like stay in a given position for longer. And this is a product that I have personally wanted for a long time. And it's a product that a lot of the folks who are kind of earlier users of Rainmaker have expressed interest in, like both directly to me and also indirectly because, you know, we saw such strong interest in Eigenlayer, which was effectively that, right? And so we're very excited for this like kind of quests or like airdrop hunter feature that we're going to add to Rainmaker. So definitely look out for that.
And again, I think Carlos glossed over this, but it's worth like saying it again. Like one of the reasons why we think that we can potentially build a better version of this than anyone before. Like at the end of the day, like you're always speculating on what you need to do for an airdrop. But the unique thing about Rainmaker is, again, we leverage account abstraction to bundle actions together. We can actually take actions, or we can't take them on your behalf, but you can tell us what you'd like to do and we can execute it very easily, very efficiently, very quickly. And so if the actions are do these three things, that's one button click for a user in Rainmaker because we leverage this new technology. So pretty exciting opportunities for users.
You're essentially making like airdrop farming very, very easy and very accessible to everybody, which is great.
That's right.
And you're also going to be providing like these new protocols and chains with actual useful people using their essentially using their like ecosystem in trying to like take all the bots out, which is good, which is something that's needed because we've seen so many times that the airdrop farmers on like 1,000 wallets. Carlos, it sounds like you have a lot of these wallets from the comments you said. It sounds like the money or like the magic of internet beans are going to start to go to the right people, which is really cool. Yeah, which is really cool.
Well, for starters, it's going to go to people instead of bots, right? Like we're still going to require the user to come and press buttons, and the user still does, gain some awareness of what is the protocol, what am I doing on that protocol. So I think it's actually beneficial to the protocol, and it's not just like automated Sybil attacks or whatever. Like it's actually beneficial for all parties.
It's like if you have a good product, like financial product that you're offering, this is going to be a boon to you. like, right? Because you're going to get more eyeballs on that good financial product, and people will stay if it's good. So that's kind of how I think about it.
Okay, nice. Is there any other little tidbits or secrets you can reveal about Rainmaker or what's coming up over the next couple of months?
Yeah, I guess there's one more. I don't know, yeah, we can talk about it a little bit.
Do it.
But basically, we're working on a much better fiat on-ramp. So we found a partner who, I won't reveal yet, who can on-ramp us with a really, really high success rate with extremely low fees. And here's a little leak, is that we might actually be covering those fees for some period of time. So if you want to on-ramp money, it would be free, which is very rare in crypto, and you can do it directly on chain rather than having to go through a centralized exchange like Coinbase or Binance. It's something that's already established. And we're basically trying to make it, I don't know if you've ever used Robinhood, but as easy as Robinhood for on-ramping funds. So to me, that's really exciting because I'm going to throw a huge chunk of cash once that's live onto the app.
Yeah, so much of what we try to do in Rainmaker is look at TradFi services like Robinhood and just say how can we build the crypto version of this?
Yeah.
The other thing that I would say, just a tidbit of what's coming in the future, and this is kind of a cop-out answer, but our community gets to decide some of that.
So true.
We always want to hear what protocols do you care about? What airdrops are you excited about? What's coming? And as Carlos said, some of the decisions that we've made, bringing on Base, bringing on Eigenlayer, these were made over the course of hours, not days. And we managed to get all of that stuff on board because our users want it. And so just hop in our Discord, tell us what you're looking for, and we'll build it. That's what we're here for.
Carlos, you were definitely right. This does sound too good to be true, mate. 100%.
I really appreciated that comment so much. It was such an ego stroke in the moment. I was like, God, I know you're insulting me, but it feels so good to hear that.
Dude, I remember when I first reached out to you a couple of months ago, I ended up asking in the Blockmates Discord, what do you guys think of this? Has anybody used it? And there's one of the lads in, I think I told you, and he even said that. I was like, gasless fees, mate, it's got to be a scam. I was like, no, it really isn't. The guys are legit. I spoke to them on the phone. They're docs, they're real people. It's definitely not a scam. He's like, something smells a bit fishy. But then obviously talking to you, going into even more depth on it today, it's wow, okay, this is too good to be true, but it's the mobile app that is needed for crypto, because there's so many of these too good to be true apps already in the real world, in TradFi or whatever, that this is needed here, which is why I think people are in such disbelief.
And what's awesome is that, or one of my favorite parts about the disbelief is that I can just go say hey, you can look this up on chain. Chain don't lie, as they say. You can look it up on chain. You can see the gas coming from the paymaster going to the bundler, actually packaging these transactions. It's all there. So that's kind of the best part.
All right, guys, I got a few quick fire questions to finish off with you, because this is something I like to do on the podcast. Don't worry, it's nothing scary. They are just fun little questions. I'm going to ask you both of them. Carlos, we'll start. Oh, I should do that way. Carlos, we'll start with you. Right. And this is my favorite question to ask anybody: pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
No way. No way.
Good. Brent?
Someone once described it to me Snicker bars. They're great. So is pizza. You don't crush a Snicker bar and put it on a pizza. I don't need something wet, soggy, and sweet. I love pineapple. I love pizza. Yeah, I don't know. There's better pizzas out there.
Bingo. Good. Right answers. Carlos, what is your guilty pleasure in life?
I play Call of Duty a lot, way too much. So yeah, it's not good. Which one? It's not healthy. I actually play Modern Warfare 1 from 2 years ago because I'm too cheap to buy the new one. Yeah, it's bad though. It's really bad.
That was me at university. So as a kid, I used to play a lot of RuneScape, a lot of World of Warcraft, and then a shit ton of Call of Duty. Yeah, I played a lot of Modern Warfare 2. I played a lot of Black Ops as well. Absolutely loved it.
Great games. Great games. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a time where I was definitely spending about 2x my full-time job playing WoW as well. So I can definitely that resonates with me. I don't know, these days I'm like boring, so I don't have a great answer. Like I have a 2-year-old. She's great, so she takes up a lot of my time. I do still chase a little bit of adrenaline doing like rock climbing. So that's I guess you could call that a guilty pleasure. Anytime you're not spending with your kids, a parent is a guilty pleasure. So yeah, that's my answer.
I've got to ask because I know there's a lot of WoW viewers out there watching. What did you roll?
Oh, I was a warlock, and I was pretty heavily invested in like end game rating and achievement farming and all that stuff too. So yeah,
Good lad. I like it.
Human warlock.
Oh, mate. Let me say it. So I started with some friends. I ended up having to roll like an undead priest. So I ended up becoming the healer, which is boring. Then I changed to shadow. Then I went straight to a Tauren hunter. I loved my Tauren hunter, absolute monster. I played a lot of PvP. Went into a paladin because I loved battlegrounds at a low level. If you're a prop paladin, if you guys don't know, protection paladin is basically a tank. You get like a big sword, you get a shield, and there's this spell. You throw the shield at it, donks 3 people, and at low levels you just knock everybody out straight away. And in battlegrounds, which is PvP, so player versus player, you're an absolute king. Carlos, one thing we don't know about you.
I was a highly competitive cross-country skier.
Different. Brent.
Strange, random fact.
Oh man, when I was younger, through a family friend, I learned how to unicycle. I don't still know how to do that, but there was a time where I could both unicycle and juggle.
No way, that's awesome.
Different. Okay. Right. One final question. This is gonna be deep. Carlos, what legacy do you want to leave?
Oh my God, that's a tough question. Honestly, like I just want people to think of me as like somebody who like makes stuff. That's cool. It's pretty simple. Like guy who made cool stuff.
Simple. Brent, over to you.
That's quite the headstone right there. Here lies Carlos, made cool stuff. Yeah, for me, like I think there's kind of two answers. Selfishly, like I don't need to leave a legacy. I don't care one bit. I think we're all on this planet for a short time, and you know, if we're happy and we're helping other people be happy, and you know, finding the balance between those two is actually pretty important too. But like, if we're happy, then we've done our job. The reason why it gets a little bit more complicated is, you know, having kids changes your perspective on some things too. So the dial gets pushed a little bit more towards helping other people be happy, and maybe she'll have kids of her own, maybe she won't, but you know, like I don't need a legacy, just need happiness.
Just need to be a good dad. That's it.
Yeah.
Simple.
Just that. It's so easy.
So wholesome. I like it.
Awesome. I like how we've had like a really wholesome end to that. Guys, more importantly, where can we find you both? Shout out to all your socials. Where can we see you?
Yeah, I mean, you can hit up Rainmaker at Rainmaker Wallet on Twitter. Me, probably the easiest way to find me is that like I comment at Rainmaker Wallet a lot. The Zarlos on Twitter. Brent.
Yeah, we don't do a very good job of like linking all of our personas together either. I'm Beatrout on Twitter and or on X. And yeah, you can probably find us all the way through just the Rainmaker website, rainmaker.nyc, or Rainmaker Wallet on Twitter.
You can also come to East Village in New York, and you'll probably run into me on the street. So that's another way if you need to find me and give me some product feedback in real life.
And I guess if somebody does actually find you in real life, you're going to buy them a slice of pizza.
Yeah, given that it's $1, yeah, like I'm good with that. I do enough yield farming, so I can pay for that $1.
You sign up on Rainmaker, you get yourself a free slice of pizza. Guys, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks so much, Dan. Good seeing you, man.
This has been a lot of fun. Thank you.
Bye.